On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, 12 monkeys, Corona memes, Wilson X9L is in, and the cop holster industry is a wreck.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Danny and Marky, and this is another episode of the John1911 Podcast. I do not know what episode number it is because we're doing this one as an emergency episode because of what's been going on with the intelligence community in China. So, Danny was just asking, "Where's Freeze at?" And well, Freeze will not be here today because, number one, this is his work week. And so he stays up all night, then sleeps all day. But on top of that, not only has his tractor broken, was some of our readers have seen online, his I guess his sink or something, like he had a huge leak in his kitchen sink, and so his wife made him tear apart his island. He sent me pictures of it. It's a mess. So he basically works all night, then comes home and is trying to fix plumbing problems. So he will not be available today. So the downside to being Bob motherfucking Vila, as he would say. So I have some interesting news. I guess I wanted to, I guess it would be like podcast only content. Wilson Combat has seen fit to send us a pistol that they make. It's a double stack 9mm 1911, and it's called the X9L, and it's basically their version of a 2011. And but it's not compatible with a 2011 in any way. So it's got a few key feature changes, and it showed up today at the armory, and with a red dot on it. And we're shaking it down and looking at it. And I got to tell you, dude, because you and I were talking about this about a month or so ago, this thing seems pretty interesting, without shooting.
What kind of characteristics does it show differently?
Well, it doesn't. I'm going to have to get out calipers and measure the grip. And maybe it's psychological. Maybe it's biased because I want it to be skinnier. But they claimed that it is only a hair wider than a standard single stack 1911 with the wood grips on it. And I don't know what a hair is. I can't remember what the number is. But when I pick it up, it doesn't seem blocky to me, like a Glock, or even what I remember the STI gun feeling like, which I also have in the back of the truck.
What's the capacity?
18 plus 1.
Or double stack 1911. That's interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it's a monster. And it's not heavy either. It's got an aluminum frame, and it doesn't feel top heavy. Again, I hate these guys, because we're not gear reviewers, but I hate these guys that get on the internet and they get a gun, especially like these tabletop guys. Basically, they get a gun, and then they set it on a table, and they're talking about how awesome it is and how this is so great and this is so high quality and, all that. It's like, dude, you didn't fucking shoot that gun. You don't know dick. Shut up. And I don't want to be that. I have to admit, when I kind of sound like them right now, I took it out of the bag at the FFL because we had to read the serial number off, and I was like, holy cow, this thing, at least here at the counter, seems to be what they're promising. It doesn't, it didn't strike me as being like, oh man, this thing is like holding a 2x4.
Yeah, I can't.
So we'll see.
I can't wait to see a clip on it.
Go ahead. I'll send you some pictures when we get off pod. I took some. It's it's an expensive gun. I don't know Wilson's business. I don't really have a relationship with them. They know, I know they exist, and they know that we exist, and I know they exist. But I'm under the impression that I don't believe they sold too many of these full length 5-inch guns, because it just came out, I think, last year, or maybe it was this was it last year? Or maybe it's this SHOT Show, but they're a full-size grip with a 5-inch, basically a 5-inch slide like a regular 1911. And they have an EDC X9, which is their original version double stack gun, and it's more of, when they sell that gun, it's more of a Glock 19. That's how they bill it. Everyone compares it to a Glock 19, which to me sucks because a Glock 19 is too small for my hands. Well, what they've done is they've added a magwell to, it's an option. You can, to this X9L, and you can even get it onto the smaller gun. And so that magwell gives you more purchase space for larger hands. And it also gives you more room for, instead of a 15-round magazine, you get an 18-round magazine. And it's there, and there's more to it. It's more than just the 1911. There's significant changes internally, than a standard 1911. So
at the bottom of the
I don't want to go
18,
into all of it
does
here.
Does it have that little flare for your pinky, or is it a straight?
The grip is so big, you don't need that. It's got a mag pad on it, but with that magwell on it, makes the grip so big your finger does not rest on the magazines at all on these with the magwell option. On the original without a magwell, I think it might, or it'd be damn close. It would probably pinch skin if I was doing a reload. So, but it's also interesting the way they had the magwell cut. I think it's relieved enough that you can put a 15-round original X9 magazine in it, and it just fits flush, and you can still use the 15-round mags. So you're not committed. So, like, let's say you wanted to carry it, concealed, but you didn't want that extra, say, I don't know how much it is, the base pad sticks out on the 18. You could carry the 15, shave, say, a 1/4 inch off the overall length of the gun, of the grip, and carry an 18 as a reload. I mean, this is an interesting gun. It's super interesting so far.
How long
we'll
do
see
you
how
have
it
it for?
shoots. And there, I guess, apparently, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so if I'm making a mistake, they are saying that we can have it for 90 days. And, we have the option, if we wish to purchase it, we can. So, and how this actually came about was, I was super interested in this gun, and because when they finally came out with something that was a bigger grip, because these Glock 19 size guns, I just hate them. I mean, they don't work for me at all. Like we just sold 2 Glock 19s during the COVID outbreak because everybody wanted these Glock 19s, and we made bank on them. But when they came out with this bigger gun, I couldn't find one in a gun store within 150 miles of the armory. Like I was calling dealers, like, hey, you're a Wilson dealer. Do you have one of these in the shop? As a matter of fact, there's one dealer outside of Columbus, Ohio, because they're 100 some miles from me. I called them, and the guy's like, yeah, we're a Wilson dealer. And he's like, my boss is on the phone with Wilson right now trying to get guns. And it's like, oh, okay. So a good thing I didn't drive 100 miles just because I wanted to play with one in my hand before I spent $3,000 or whatever these things cost. So I reached out to Wilson and was like, hey, dude, we need to find one of these because we need to shake them. I need to shake one down because we're legitimately interested in it. And there's a bunch of people over here. In particular, there's cops over here at the range that they're getting in these double stack 1911s. And, where can I find one so I can put my hands on it and see if we want to deal with it. And so they basically said, they call it kitting. Why don't we kit one up for you? And we'll send it to you as a T&E gun, spec it how you want it. And if you don't want to keep it, we'll just use it as a gun writer gun. Like we'll send it to gun magazines. So, because they didn't have one, we wanted one, full length with a rail, with the magwell and a red dot on it. And I wanted the SRO red dot. And they put the whole gun together, with 18-round magazines and set it up. And so it was like, all right. And I gotta be honest, I was a little nervous. I was like, I take this thing out of the bag and it feels like a giant 2x4 or a 6x6. It's going to be like, well, this is going to suck rocks, and I'm just like, oh my God. I mean, I'm actually headed to the range now because we'll shoot it and, even, I don't even know if it's zeroed. I mean, I don't know. I assume it is, but, if I can dig up a holster from somebody,
Even with
appendix
the
holster,
18?
I'm going to try to carry this gun. Yeah, oh yeah, because appendix is easier with bigger guns than 3 or 4 o'clock. Oh, by a country mile, it's a lot. It's counterintuitive, but most people don't realize the longer guns. They how does it? So you have I have to get into like appendix holsters, and most people. This is why I don't like to talk about holsters too much on, like, especially on the Facebook page, because we get all these people and they roll in. They're like, "Ah, dude, we'll send you a holster. Check and look at this." And my buddy over here and Dirty Water America makes Kydex holsters, and you look at them, and there's all kinds of problems with them, especially appendix holsters. And the biggest mistake most people make when they're making a holster is the gun sits too low on the belt line, for in the waistband. And so what happens is they try to tuck the gun so deep behind your belt that you can't get your fingers between the grip of the gun and the belt. And so what you end up doing is you either have to go down there and you have to dig your fingers up into it, which slows your draw, or you pull the gun out and then you have to adjust your grip on presentation. And both of those are those are the telltale signs of somebody who's making holsters that doesn't know what they're doing. They're literally they're blind. And, holster and plus the holster market, because there's so many people that make holsters, they show up on the Facebook page and dude, they get so toxic with each other because they're so competitive. It's like they shit talk each other and they shit talk, commenters, and commenters shit talk, like somebody owns a holster and,
Oh yeah.
they get on the Facebook page. You've seen it, Danny. They get on the Facebook page and, because they own the holster, they feel like they need to have public validation of their decision. And if someone doesn't choose their holster as their favorite holster, they take it as like some personal affront to their honor. And it just, it's terrible. And that's a small window into why we're not gear reviewers. I have a company in mind. I have two companies in mind to make appendix holsters. Obviously, Keeper's Concealment. I mean, I've broken a couple of their holsters, but it happens. And there's another company I found that actually they show the Wilson X9L as a holster they make. So I think they're ready to rock on it. I doubt if Keeper's Concealment has an X9L to even use as a mold, which I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait 60, 90 days for a holster.
What I would like to see? Do you still have that Rock Island that you tested the other day? Well, I would like
it's in the back of the truck. That's Freeze's game.
Not a full-blown shootout comparison type thing, but I would like to see you have both of them. That way you're going from one end of the high spectrum down to more of the medium spectrum and see how much of a difference that they really are.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll do a video side by side like that. I'm more of a performance oriented shooter, and I say that cautiously because I'm obviously not the internet's best shooter. You know what I mean? Like I always try to be better. And, if you see me running, I think I shot that Rock Island on that plate rack. I shot that pretty well. And here's the thing, I wasn't 5 yards from that plate rack. I was, for a plate rack, I was a pretty decent distance away with that Rock Island. It was like, dink, 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 dink. It was like,
I'll tell you the method, the method thinking of my madness is that more people that listen to our channel, I think, would buy the Rock Island or something comparable before they would buy a Wilson. That's maybe just my thinking. And so I was thinking rich man, poor man,
That's true.
whatever you want to phrase it. It was just an idea. I just farting in the wind.
Yeah. So, I mean, no, actually, I mean, you are now turning into Freeze
he's
on the
not
podcast
here.
because Freeze is that way.
So,
And,
so I'm really trying my best to step up to the
plate. So you're the
Yeah,
you're the
I'm the
scam
designated
hitter.
malcontent.
Okay. I was at American League versus National League. We've had these conversations in private about our social media because, again, if you're new to this podcast, you're about to learn something. And if you've been around for a long time since the Tactical T-shirt days, you know this. I personally spend an inordinate amount of money on guns. I will carry a $4,000 gun and tear the shit out of it. Where Freeze is a cheap bastard, and that's actually what he says. And he won't do that. And he's made the observation, and it is true. And and I wouldn't call Freeze the most adept social media person, but when he made this observation, it was like spot on. I shoot Blaser rifles, and before that I had this FBI rifle gun, and it's, you put that gun up in a video and it's cool, and it's straight pull and European and this high-end European glass. And now I got this European chassis system, switch barrel, super accurate. And then you look at the gun as it's sitting in front of you, and it could be $7,000 or $8,000. And it's like, that's cool. We put up some content of, like, for example, we both just happen to be Mossberg 500 guys. Like, I'm a Mossberg guy, not an 870 guy. I mean, I know we recognize the 870 is a better shotgun, but that's just, we're Mossberg guys. And if I do something with a Mossberg, or I do something with a Glock, or I do something, I deal with a Rock Island, it gets 10 times the traffic than my douchebag $7,000 guns.
Like I said, it was just an idea. It was just an idea. I can't wait for the video of when you shoot it. I'm anxious to see if a plus $3,000 gun is worth its merit, or what it's all cracked up to be.
Well, because we were talking about Officer Mike's SCI, which is also in the back of the truck. And the only reason that gun's in the back of the truck is they are waiting for holsters from Safariland. Because I've learned, you order a holster from Safariland and it takes 3, 4, 6 months. And it's like, please, somebody put them out of business. Somebody please compete with Safariland with level 2, level 3 retention police duty holsters. Because Safariland is retarded as a company. They make a good product, but
we get to it when we get to it.
It's so dumb. It's not even that. Like, trying to even figure out, like, Safariland, you try to figure out, like, okay, I need a holster for this gun. And it's like, okay, well, it's like a 4 or 5 digit serial number, and or model number. It's like, well, that's a 6247 versus a 8891. And, like, they must have so many SKUs. And what they do is they just number them. They could have done a better job, maybe in hindsight, with maybe like I don't know, like they could call something like the Alpha holster. That's an Alpha 12 or an Alpha 18. So, like, at least where, like, maybe what neighborhood of holsters you need to be in. But trying to get the charts and figuring out, what holster works with what gun and for what features. I know Safariland, there have been people that have tried to figure out, I was like, hey, we'll have to get a Safariland holster because that's what the cops run, and trying to figure out what holster they need. They can't figure it out. They just never order it. They literally can't even figure out. Safariland makes it hard to give people money, or people to give them money. And I'm like, as a business owner, I mean this professionally, like in the school of business, not literally, but from a professional Wharton School of Business point of view, I want to take an axe handle and bash their fucking head in. There are so many poorly run businesses out there. And I just can't believe Safariland. I can't believe Safariland is still, someone hasn't taken that shit from them. It's like they're literally just, they're living on cop money. You know, it's the approved duty holster for this agency. So we're going to,
Makes you wonder.
you know, so we're
It makes
just
you
not
wonder:
even going to
are they a
try to make
public
it easier for
entity, or are
people.
they
I
just a
feel like,
one-family-owned
yeah,
type thing with that attitude?
Safariland was started by,
Right.
originally started by Rogers, like the Rogers Shooting School. And then he sold it to, I think he's still part of it or consults, but he sold it to somebody like that Bill Rogers. I mean, he's a really smart guy. And, you know, I don't know exactly how it all works, but it's just crazy. It's just such a poorly run company. So, I mean, I just don't even know how I can't even stand it. I just can't even, you know, I
Well,
just can't even stand them. I mean, they suck. So anyway, I'm sure no one wants to hear me rant or rave about Safariland. So I think it'd be pretty safe to say there will not be a
probably not.
Safariland Wilson X9L holster showing up. No, I mean, I think that's going to be, a no-go. So, but you know, I mean, this gun, yeah, again, I haven't shot it, so I don't want to sound like a douchebag, but it looks like
You
to me,
probably
it
end
looks
up
like it's
carrying
pretty
that Wilson,
carryable.
you know, in a low pro leg holster if you find something for it.
No. I don't use leg holsters. So I'll find an AIWB holster for it. I'll figure out something. I mean, you know, I'll
Well,
figure out.
speaking
I'll
about
figure out something
crazy,
with it.
did
So
you
we'll
see
get
this
it done. So,
DOJ and China shit going on?
yeah. Look, I saw that yesterday. Well, I don't know about the DOJ. I saw the China thing, and the intelligence community started. I mean, look, it's coordinated. Obviously, the word has gone out from the administration, from somebody. It's not like John Roberts broke this story and the government didn't want him to find out. This was an approved unnamed sources leak because it came out from multiple people to multiple news agencies, basically saying they have intelligence leading the U.S. government has intelligence leading them to believe that the coronavirus in China did not start organically from a wet market, and actually it was an accident at a lab in Wuhan. And they even went so far as I've heard grumblings. They went so far as to say a female worker was exposed at this lab. She infected her boyfriend, and the boyfriend went to the wet market, which my understanding is wet markets are kind of like grocery stores in China. And so what's amazing, if this is true, if you think about it, what's amazing with this is they have literally identified patient goddamn zero. And
Wow.
this is literally like 12 Monkeys, the movie. This is insane. This is, you know, everybody's talking about this like in a 12-hour news cycle or 24-hour news cycle, like, you know, what's Donald Trump going to say? And what's Nancy Pelosi going to say? And what's Joe Biden going to say? And it's like, what people don't
Oh yeah.
realize yet,
Well,
they will very soon, is this
it has to.
event is going to go down in world history. Like when when Christopher Columbus landed in North America, that was a world historical moment. When Yuri Gagarin orbited the Earth, that was, you know, a historical moment. When Magellan circumnavigated the world, that was an historical moment. When when um when the guys at what's the not Fermi, who's his buddy? When they successfully detonated the first atomic bomb, you know, out there in the desert in, you know, during World War II, then dropped it on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's a world that will be, you know, 1,000 years from now. It will still be Christopher Columbus, Yuri Gagarin, Neil Armstrong landing on the moon, you know, the Trinity test, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and China and the fucking 12 monkey virus bullshit thing. I mean, this is This is a
Do
black
you know what?
swan event historically.
I fully agree with that. But you know what I'm wondering is not the implications of the virus itself, but the political implications. Who knew?
Well, you can break that up into two parts, because that's the traditional, what did you know and when did you know it? And so, it's going to be interesting. Like, the intelligence community has reason to believe certain things. And it's going to be interesting to find out how we found it out. And the reality is, we probably are still giving some disinformation because we don't want the Chinese to know exactly how we know certain things or when we know. Like, for example, like, let's say, we're reading all the Chinese emails. There's an issue, like, that's an issue. And so how we found out stuff, the truth, some of it may not come out for 75 years because it's so classified. But the political ramifications of this, in the West, I had predicted, like, if I was Apple Computer or if I was a cell phone company and 90% of my products, that I'm a $1 trillion company, but they come from China, and then a war breaks out and, over Taiwan or islands in the South China Sea, or, sea features, they call them. And, like, all of a sudden now, all of my, 100,000 people died in this really nasty Pacific War, and all of my shit is now being manufactured on the wrong side of a line on some map. And all that made in China shit looks like, might as well say made in Nazi Germany. It's like, I wondered when people were going to professionally want to diversify out of China. And, I thought it was going to be some kind of war. And, like, right now, like, I think, everybody's obsessed with Trump, and Trump is obsessed with Trump, and Biden is obsessed with Trump, and the American people are obsessed with 2020. But right now, I think we are in a very, very dangerous time with China. Extremely dangerous, and here's why. If the West loses their shit on China, if the West as a whole, like if Europe, those weasels, they wanted Chinese 5G, and, they're taking Chinese money. All these people in the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean are taking Chinese money. If all these people suddenly go, China is now the new fucking Nazi shit for real. Like, they wake up and they go, wait a minute, they have Muslim concentration camps, and they go, wait a minute, they harvest people's body parts and sell them. Wait a minute, that bodies exhibit that went through the U.S. in the 90s and 2000s that wasn't people who donated their bodies to science. That was Falun Gong members. Like, there was when people wake up to what really can be going on with China, and they realize it's like we're doing business with, like, the crazy ass Nazis. If China can't make money, like, if they suffer extreme economic hardship, the stasis that currently exists in the Chinese governmental structure will collapse. The rule is, we're a one-party system. The Chinese Communist Party runs everything, and you, private citizen, can get rich because it's patriotic to make money. Like that, like Deng Xiaoping said, it is patriotic to get rich. Well, if all of a sudden now Mr. Xi, who's the president of China, and he's now the president for life because he's kind of been taking over and turning it into a true dictatorship, if the rest of the Communist Party decides, wait a minute, no one can make money, we're going to have 1 billion people rise up because they're broke, we're going to shoot this fucker in the back of the head, then tell the world, hey, we're sorry about that, we're starting over, it's all his fault, we're going to come clean. That could cause internal strife inside of China. That could cause, there could be assassinations, there could be a civil war, there could be military units attacking the government. Like, this is extremely dangerous right now in China. If the world, if everybody says China must pay, which is fine, and they actually make China pay. China's government may not survive the way that we see it today on April 16th,
in theory,
2020.
agree with you. I could see a coup going on over there if their economy collapses. I could see that very easily.
Word was coming out yesterday that they believe China is testing micro nukes, and that's been grumbled for a while. We've actually developed some micro. We haven't developed micro nukes. Well, Trump, everybody, the defense establishment in the U.S. was, we started developing dial-a-yield nuclear weapons because we felt that the Russians have a escalate to de-escalate policy, which some people debate. But the idea being, like, if you were to get into a fight with Russia and all of a sudden they drop a nuclear weapon on some airfield in, like, out in Finland somewhere, and they say, keep it up, fuckers, and the next one's going to hit Paris, what are you going to do? It's nuclear blackmail. It's called escalate to de-escalate. So the argument being, if they set off a nuclear weapon out in the middle of nowhere at a valid military target, but we do not have a way to respond proportionally, like, we just nuke a carrier, we nuke a cruiser that happens to be in the middle of the Mediterranean out by itself. It's like, okay, yeah, fucker, we can do this too. You can use a small dial-and-yield nuclear weapon as opposed to like a giant 40 megaton city buster. You know what I mean? So these dial-a-yield nukes and micro nukes have more strategic, tactical utilitarianism as opposed to a counter-strike, second strike capability. So China, and for years, China has never subscribed to the massive nuclear deterrence philosophy that Russia has and the United States have. They felt like it was too expensive. And so they basically, I think they said maybe, I haven't read an estimates in a couple of years, or maybe about a year, but it's maybe about 80 nuclear weapons, they think, and not that many ICBMs. They were upgrading, but, enough to be a credible deterrent. Like, if you drop a nuclear weapon on one of our cities, we're going to have enough nuclear weapons, and we're going to hit Seattle, or we're going to, you know what I mean? Like, they just enough to guarantee that we're going to hit you back,
right,
but not enough to, like, nuke the planet 7 times over. But it's coming out now that China is violating the nuclear test ban treaty, and they may be testing micro nukes or doing nuclear weapons testing, live
except
testing,
Iran,
which nobody's allowed to do. And
right,
yeah, well, yeah. So, and North Korea. So, but think about North Korea for a minute. Like, okay, like, I don't know what's going on in China or how their economy is going to function, but if China runs out of money,
right,
then guess what? North Korea runs out of money. And that fucker, his argument is use it or lose it. If he feels like he's losing control of his regime, he is more inclined to use nuclear weapons to blackmail or possibly, achieve a goal. This is not unrelated. We're getting into extremely dangerous times right now. And
exactly.
people don't see it because they're
China,
blinded by 2020
or North Korea, or maybe a few other countries for that matter. Do you actually think that they have released the true COVID numbers?
You know what? I'm going to tell the listeners, we have a private text chat thing that we use, and Danny was telling me 2 days ago, was it 2 or 3 days ago, you think they have you were telling me you think they have a vaccine.
Yes.
And that's why their numbers are so low. Is that what you were saying? So do you think their infection or cure rate? So
okay,
expand on that for me.
Here's
What are you thinking? Do you think they're hiding it, or do you think
the
nobody's
virus
catching it?
originated in China? China's population is more dense than the United States, but yet China's numbers are a lot lower than that of the United States. They basically developed the virus And I'm sure even before it got out that the virus was out and about, they had a jump start time to work on the vaccine. I would not be surprised in any way if the Chinese has the vaccine, thereby keeping the numbers down and the deaths down.
That would be, I mean, we're already into like Hague crimes against humanity charges against Chinese nationals. And, because, it's coming out that like they shut down travel from Wuhan inside of China, but allowed all these people from China to travel for their Chinese New Year. And, if it turns out they're holding back a vaccine, or even the, maybe like, even like the, I don't know how you would say it, the code to a vaccine, the combination to a vaccine, like, why wouldn't they be like, okay, if it comes out that they released this virus, even if it was an accident, and then it comes out that they have a vaccine, but they're not even sharing, like, hey, here's the makeup, here's the ingredients for a vaccine, fucking everybody get on it. If they don't do that, we're looking at possible Interpol arrest warrants. And I mean, like, this you're looking at like major
I agree with that, but
criminal moves
at what kind of bargaining chip they could be in the world player market.
Yeah, you know what, that makes, I think that's maybe where you might be a little bit too much off the reservation.
I've been there before.
I guess that's not politically correct phrase now, but yeah, I know. Yeah.
Don't.
That's why you're not on city council anymore. No.
Don't start. I got my Oreos, so don't start.
So, Daniel was a politician, everybody, but we're not going to go into that right now. So, it's like, look, it's a coronavirus. Again, I'm no virologist. I don't know shit. I know a little bit about biological and chemical weapons, CBRN, but I can't imagine that this is like some super, like a vaccine for this is not, I don't know, like stealth technology or engine technology where like Russia and China just can't design high quality engines. I can't imagine this is that hard. Like, it's, biology. So, I mean, if there is a vaccine and the Chinese have it and they're not giving it to us, I think we probably already have it, but we're still testing it, or we will have it shortly if there is one. Some people theorize there's no vaccine. You really can't vaccinate.
It's an airborne pathogen.
Some people say we have very few vaccines for viruses. So
I know you think that I'm off the reservation smoking the peace pipe here, but I still think that China has some knowledge of prevention or cure in their back pocket, and I really don't think that they're sharing it completely.
Well, I mean, Twitter for many weeks has been saying that, this virus started at one of these bio warfare, whatever these things are, plants. And again, it's just by virtue of proximity. It's like, come on, this is not a bioweapon. If it is a bioweapon, it sucks because it's not really effective. It doesn't really take anybody out of the fight. And, it's not debilitating. It just doesn't work. Like, very few people that would catch coronavirus couldn't fly a plane or shoot a gun
but you're missing the main point.
But
why would they create in a lab the virus in the first place?
Well, I guess I'm throwing you a bone here because 4 or 5 weeks ago, people are like, it came out of a lab in China. It's like, yeah, whatever. Well, like this news yesterday that it came out of a lab in China is black swan, bonkers, fucking unreal level craziness. If that's true, then anything you're saying right now could be true. Because we have gone into I'm telling you, your great
I agree.
grandchildren will be fucking talking about this. This is Magellan, Christopher Columbus, Gagarin,
So
Neil
my
Armstrong level
question is,
bullshit. This
why
is
would a lab
unbelievable.
even think of creating something like this?
Well, I heard that they didn't create it. I heard that it's an existing virus. Again, but they've been telling us all this shit for so long that may not be true. As 5 minutes ago, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said he believes that the virus existed naturally already in bats. And they were doing research on it because these coronaviruses do show up in China. The SARS and the bird flu and fucking MERS and probably one of these pig flus are really a coronavirus. And so they supposedly, the story they're telling everybody now is the motivation for doing this was so they could be a world leader and try to come up with ways to fight. I don't know. And then supposedly it jumped from a bat to a person, and then it went from person to person. They screwed up. So like they didn't. Their current. I mean, again, 5 minutes. Fucking day before yesterday, this did not come from a lab. Today it came from a lab. So maybe tomorrow they're going to be like, well, the virus doesn't really actually exist in nature, and actually it mutates, and that's why we're never going to get it's bioengineered, and we're never going to get a vaccine for it. I mean, I hate to sound like Alex Jones here, but if we've kicked open the door of Looney Tunes, and I am not prepared, I can't see the way forward here on what's going to end up being the truth. You could be dead ass right. They could have made this fucking thing. At this point, you could be right. At this point, you could be right that they released it so they can infect the world and not really infect
possible.
Most of their country for some weird ass
reason.
Mine,
of course, is just a theory. And you know how theories are. Everyone has one. And I just... you said
like
that.
Asshole, everybody
I was
has one and they all stink.
Correct.
Dude, I'm loving the memes you send me, and I wish we could like, did you send me the one that said everybody's going to get the
I didn't send you that one.
Eventually, but China got it right off the bat?
I sent you so many, I can't remember. Oh, I sent you the one how it's the longest lasting thing ever made in China.
Oh, yeah, the coronavirus.
and the one of Van Gogh with a mask on.
Oh, dude, I got to publish that one. So you sent me a meme, and it's one of the traditional, the painting Van Gogh did of himself, of what he looks like. And Van Gogh's got an N95 mask, but it's only hanging from one ear because he's missing an ear, and it says, well, shit. These coronavirus memes are hilarious. They're so funny. I mean, I love these memes. I just can't, can't publish a meme every day memes. Because we would turn into a meme channel, and So I'll tell you what, I'm going to dig up the Van Gogh one, and I'll publish that. I'll put some of the memes in the comment section of this episode of the podcast, and I'll maybe put the Van Gogh one up into the news feed and maybe on Instagram.
Did you see how Trump
is there anything else?
At the press conferences every night, and he has been giving it back to the mainstream media and their liberal reporters, beating them with their own words and their own facts. Now the mainstream media, after he did that, is accusing him of having a meltdown, any other thing that you could think of, because he beat them with their own words, and they don't like it.
Well, look, the media has lost their credibility, and they know it, because instead of reporting the news, they're trying to make the news. And here's the latest example. Like, they always try to create drama of, like, will Trump fire Bob Mueller? And what they were doing is they would try to get Trump pissed off about Robert Mueller, so Trump would read the media and be like, fuck that guy, I'm going to fire his fucking ass, and then they could make a crisis. And, that was partisan politics, the Russian stuff. We're at a whole new level. And watch the media the last week, like 5 days ago, they were trying to make a rift between Fauci and Trump. So Trump would fire Fauci to make him some kind of unloyal guy, and so they could make a crisis. The media wasn't reporting the news. They were trying to direct and make the news. And that Fauci thing was so out of fucking bounds that
Did you see what
mean, it's like
Fauci
this
did to the
bullshit's
media
over with these
yesterday?
people. It's just crazy. Fuck them.
Fauci during the press yeah.
I know Fauci had to get security.
Yeah, well, no, during the press
Fauci
conference,
has U.S. Marshals
of course,
Protection
they tried to play. The media tried to play into it. Well, are you going to be fired? Were you under duress? Are you told to say that these numbers are good or whatever? He told the reporter point blank, basically, quit the bullshit. Screw your narrative. None of it is true. And that reporter shit a gold brick right there.
Well, it's interesting because a couple things about Fauci. I think he's like 79 or 80. And apparently he started working in his current job in like 84, 86 under Ronald Reagan. And so here's the other thing. I don't remember which group he actually supposedly runs. I'm not trying to cap on Fauci, but, he's on television 4 to 6 hours a day. He does the press conferences with the president. He has to prepare for the press conferences with the president. And then he shows up and does interviews with NPR and CNN and Fox. He's on TV 4 to 6 hours a day. He's not running shit. I mean, I'm not trying to be a super dick here, but he is not running whatever his medical infectious disease group. He's the CEO and he's the guy that's showing up every day on television. But there's a CFO, assistant director, that's running that shit every day. Because it's just, I know how businesses work. And he may set an agenda, but he's not running stuff. There's somebody else running that. There's just no way. There's no way.
Well,
as busy as they are,
speaking about TV the media,
4 to 6 hours a day.
Fox still carries the president's news conferences. CNN and MSNBC do not every evening, but yet they will carry all of Cuomo's press conferences minute to minute, and the same now with the New Jersey governor. But they will not carry the president's.
Well, of course they will, because they hate anything that the president does to make him look presidential. And look, dude, all I heard for 40 years, I mean, we heard it for Hillary Clinton. We heard it with Obama. We've heard it with Bush. It's been 21 days since the president has had a press conference. It's been 90 days since the president has had a press conference. It's been 184 days since, like, Sean Hannity used to do this. Like, everybody this was the standard with breathless reporting, because it was just some reason to have something to bark about on television. And now Donald Trump is on TV so much, he doesn't even have a goddamn press secretary anymore. That woman went to work back for she's now the chief of staff for Melania. He's his own press secretary. He's on. He just has. He's so accessible, and now they're like, oh my God, he's on TV every day. He's on TV too much. This is terrible. This is like something out of like Venezuela, and it's like, okay, whatever. They do have something of a point, but we are in like the middle of this major crisis, and you people are just, there was a guy on Twitter. He made an interesting point, and I really thought this was a way to do it. He said for a press conference, what they ought to do is they should just come out with an 8x10 glossy of Donald Trump's face and set it on the podium and watch the media bark at it for 3 hours. Because that's I mean, it's just like, it's just like, it's like whatever. I mean, like these people, because they're so desperate, like we see it, dude, we see it in our business. We see it in the gun business. Something happens, like let's say there's, I don't know, some big, I don't know, whether it's like a drama like with, Caleb Giddings, or let's say there's some big shooting or something, and people need to insert themselves into the story to give some hot take. And all it really is just a way to talk about themselves, not really talk about the story. And that's all this is. And when you grow up with the media, if you're young and you're listening to this, and whether you're watching CNN or you're watching Fox News, and everybody's hyperbolic and every day they're breathless, like, oh my God, today's the worst day. Like, okay, think about this for a minute. Like, just talk about Trump for a minute. Okay, Donald Trump,
Right.
the media has said, so you talked about that meltdown that they had, right? That big ass fucking meltdown. Like, Donald Trump has lost his mind. This is the worst day. This is it. This is the worst day of his presidency. It's like, well, wait a minute. For 3 years, I've heard Donald Trump fired Robert Mueller, or he fired James Comey. This is the worst day in American history. Donald Trump, he's an agent of Russia. This is the worst day in American history. Donald Trump, he is he's interfering with the something with the Constitution. This is the worst day. And like every day, these fuckers get on TV and it's the worst fucking day ever.
They
it's
have
like,
to set the narrative.
It's like
for
nobody
themselves.
gives a flying fuck anymore. It's just been setting the narrative anymore. How many times? And look, Donald Trump, like, okay, for example, here's another one, dude. And then we're going to have to go soon because I don't want to lose you. But like, okay, so like they were having this argument like Donald Trump's like, I have absolute authority to restart or shut down the government or shut down whatever he's saying. It's like, that's not really true either. But that's them, Donald Trump, he reacts to shit. You say something to him and you criticize him, he hits you back. Like when they asked Donald Trump about the suppressors, after the shooting in Virginia a year or so ago, he's like, I don't fucking suppressors. I don't like them. I don't like it one bit. And it's like, cause he fucking doesn't know anything about this. And he just fucking dog shit falls out of his mouth because he literally is Mr. Loquacious. She just vomits out whatever comes to his mind if he doesn't know the answer. And so they're complaining that Donald Trump doesn't, he doesn't have the authority. The governors have the authority. The governors do this. He doesn't. That's not how our system works. Separate what equal federalism. We're not a top down this. We're not a top down that. That's really fucking interesting because fucking 3 weeks ago when Donald Trump was on television, telling everybody, hey, look, the governors have to run this. We're a backstop. The governors have to get the ventilators. The governors have to set up the hospitals. The governors have to set their shutdowns. They were like, oh my God, Donald Trump, he's letting American people die. He's not doing anything. And he's like, that's the way our system works. The very thing they're complaining about now is the opposite of the thing they were complaining about 3 weeks ago, because all they're doing is barking at him like they did with Fauci to try to just fucking get on television. And I'm just sick of all of them. I mean, I'm sick of Fox News as well. I can't stand them. It's like,
did you see?
Go
ahead.
What? I'm going to share that I got to get off this fucking call. So, I was on a conference call. I was party to a conference call that I can't say exactly why a couple of days ago involving a United States senator. And it was like, I should have just backed the fuck away and fucking told somebody else, I don't need to hear this because I've got shit to do and somebody else would have enjoyed this so much better. But you know what? Nope. I'm the fucking guy and I'm going to fucking be on the call with fucking 800 other fucking people. And we're going to ask questions of the senator and talk to the senator. And this person, I'm not going to say the senator, this person is basically just parroting everything that Donald Trump says or Fauci says. And I got so pissed off. I was like, and I was accused of being a know-it-all. And I can do that a lot. I will admit that. But what I was pissed off about, it's like, okay, asshole, why the fuck are we here? I would like my hour back, okay? This is just about you, so you can fucking get your airtime, so you can be Mr. Republican Senator, so you can fucking act like you're doing something. And all you're doing is wasting my time telling me shit I heard from the vice president 5 days ago. And I was just so pissed off.
If you want to get
at
pissed off, did you see where
you're wasting my time?
that
and that's
Representative
what most
Hank
of this
Johnson,
is.
a.k.a. Guamo Tip Over, submitted that House Bill, 5717 for the red flag law to go along with the stimulus? It's crazy, isn't it?
I'm hearing grumblings about the gun
what
thing.
the red flag law has to do with the
stimulus
is beyond me.
Does the JFK Center or the Kennedy Center, the Kennedy Center have to do with the stimulus, but hey, you know what?
Well, that's because Pelosi's daughter is employed by them and sits on their board.
Musicians anyway. So Oh, I did not know that. Breaking news from chief political correspondent Danny. So,
Oh,
all right. Well, this
geez.
wraps up the unknown episode, the emergency 12 monkeys episode of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see stories, pictures, or links of anything we've covered, please go to our website, john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about
Bye-bye.
shooting,